Detroit Den 313. We're back, Stephen Will, talking that Detroit Lions football. Before we get going, you know what to do. Bang that subscribe button and do not forget the bell icon so you do not miss any of our new content. Steve, what the heck are we talking about?
So, William, a little story came out. I think it was about 8 days ago. It was right around the draft time, but we were busy. You know, we were hammering out draft stuff, just hammering away. We were both packing up, getting ready to go to Detroit, so we didn't get a chance to talk about this. So maybe we're a little late to the party. I'm sure most of you guys have seen the rumors that Cincinnati Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson requested a trade.
Yep.
Not because he's unhappy in Cincinnati. He wants a long-term contract. Real quick, William, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would your interest level be in Trey Hendrickson?
It's a loaded question, man.
That's what I do.
If we're talking just basic interest level, 12,000. If you're talking about interest level and understanding that he's going to have to get paid, you said something to me the other day that made absolute sense. I don't understand it.
It's kind of whenever I talk to you, it just makes sense.
But you said to me when I immediately said that, you said somehow the Philadelphia Eagles are paying, I don't know, 70 players when you're only supposed to have a 53-man roster, $20 million. So when you said that, it made me go, because I have started to understand this crazy salary cap thing a little better. I'm not going to say I solely truly understand it all the way yet, but I do kind of get how they stagger these contracts and play around with that, and then understand that the salary cap is going to keep going up. But I still don't understand how we're going to pay him. But if we're just talking about him being on our team, like I said, my interest level is 12,000. How do you feel?
My interest level is a 10. This is one of the most underrated pass rushers in the NFL. I put him in the top 5 when it comes to purely a defensive end. He's up there with the Bosas. He's up there with the Myles Garrett. Now we can get into the Micah Parsons and the TJ Watts, but they're linebackers. They blitz off the edge. But we're talking just pure defensive ends. Trey Hendrickson, if you're not a diehard football fan, or if you don't follow a lot of football, he might get mixed up, and you might not even remember he's there, because Cincinnati's pretty loaded. Everyone wants to talk about the Jamar Chase, the Joe Burrow. People forget about Trey Hendrickson. William, this guy's just a game wrecker. I think if you had him and Aiden Hutchinson, you got 2 guys. It's 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and the Lions are up 4. How's a quarterback going to be able to get a pass off with DJ Reader coming for you, Aleem McNeil, Trey Hendrickson, Aiden Hutchinson? Like, these are the guys you get to get a lead in a football game and to close it out.
Listen, man, Detroit has become a destination team and a destination place. Guys around the league are talking about wanting to actually come to Detroit even before they're even rumored to be in conversations, as far as from our end to them. DJ Reader was a guy who was talking about how he liked what we were doing before he was ever in the conversation. So I think that that's in our favor, but like I said, man, it's just paying them. I don't know how it works. I don't know.
All right, well, let's start with we're both interested in adding Trey Hendrickson, right? Now, yeah. I'll say disclaimer. We've given our excitement level. Now I'm going to give you my realistic level. 1 to 10, is this trade going to happen? Probably not. Probably a 1. It's a pipe dream. The Bengals have already came out and said that they're not going to trade Trey Hendrickson. Like, they're not going to move him. But let's just live in fantasy land for a little bit. And I know we're going to get hammered. To acquire Trey Hendrickson, who still has 2 years left. So if you traded for him, whatever the package may be of draft capital, you've got him under contract for 2 years. You got him for the 2024 season. You got him for the 2025 season. 2024, he's making $14 million. Not breaking the bank. We could afford that. We might have to restructure a contract or two, but it's doable. 2025, $15.8 million. Same scenario. Not a crazy amount of numbers for a guy who's going to get you double-digit sacks, a guy who's very familiar with DJ Reader, knows how he plays. They will play off each other very well. So 14.8 and 15.8. That's not an astronomical number. So what the question is what are we going to have to give up to get him first? And then we're going to get into some numbers. You're giving up a first-round pick. But here's the thing. You and I are comfortable with giving up a 2025 pick. We did it in our mock drafts, no problem. I love the Lions defense. I love what they've done in the offseason. Love what they did in the draft. I'm not even going to say that Trey Hendrickson is a missing piece, because there's some other guys that we have a gang of guys opposite of Aiden Hutchinson who just need to perform. If you want to look at just Pascal, Kaminsky, Davenport, Houston, those are the guys who are going to be rushing from the other edge. If you can get 10 to 12 sacks out of them on the year, I think that's phenomenal. 12 sacks out of 4 people. You got to divvy up that workload a little bit. Each person, there's 4 people, basic math, 3 sacks each. It's not crazy. It's not an insurmountable number. You get Trey Hendrickson, he gets you 12 on his own. No problem. And you still keep those other guys. You still got Aiden Hutchinson. That's a junk. Those are some junkyard dogs coming for some quarterbacks. So am I willing to give up a first-round pick that I truly believe, and this is something we don't throw around a lot. We've said it, but we don't throw it around casually. That first-round pick is going to be pick 32. I'm willing to give up pick 32 for a premier pass rusher.
Steve,
you look scared.
I am. I'm hesitant to even say what I'm about to say, because I'm about to start a riot. And I think I'm going to start a riot in both directions. But, guys, listen, there's not much going on right now. I do believe in what I'm about to say being a possibility for something to think about. It's something that we've kind of lightly brushed over multiple times. But I'm going to say this. Steve, if Trey Hendricks comes to the Detroit Lions, we're going to have to pay him, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about our secondary?
Love it.
Scale of 1 to 10.
Give me a solid 8. A solid 8. 7, I'm comfortable. 8 is me being optimistic that both of these rookies are going to come in here and do really well. But they're still green. They're still raw. They still got to learn the actual NFL game. But 7.7.
Yeah, you're more conservative than me, man. My feeling level is probably a 9, just because the group is so deep. Only one of them have to work out quick, right? If Terrion or Ennis work out quick, we're in a good situation. Still with veteran depth. Still got Amik. Still got Emmanuel Mosley. I just feel like there's so many different directions that we can go to find somebody that's being successful. It gives me a lot of confidence about it. So, but moving on from that, how do you feel about our linebacker group?
Love Alex Anzalone. I think Jack Campbell's going to take a big step this year. Derek Barnes, I think he is what he is. How confident am I? I'd say I'm also about a 7 or an 8.
Okay. How do you feel about our new revamped D-line with the addition of Trey?
If we had Trey Hendrickson?
Yeah. Let's live in a world where he's there.
10.
So how does that make you feel about this defense?
Elite. It makes me feel like I have 0 questions going into game day.
So, elite defense. You sign Trey, you pay him for a nice amount of time. You play next season Super Bowl or bust with Jared Goff. You move on to keep paying your guys with Hendon Hooker. Is it worth thinking about? Because I think about this. Is Hendon Hooker as good as somebody like a Brock Purdy? Right.
That's exactly who I compare Hendon Hooker. That's all Hendon Hooker has to be. Brock Purdy.
Is he somebody that can just do enough? He doesn't have to be Jared Goff. Now he needs to do some things that Jared Goff doesn't do, like extend plays, and maybe it's ugly because Brock Purdy, some of the things that he does sometimes, it's not pretty. He's running. It kind of looks like he's running for his life a little bit, running for first downs and there are some plays that he looks the part, man. But can you do this thing with Hendon Hooker for pennies on a dollar for a couple of seasons?
I understand why we have to have this conversation because we're talking money and finances and Jared Goff's contracts looming. The majority of our core is locked up. The majority, not all of it. We signed Penny Sewell, $28 million. Re-signed Amon-Ra St. Brown, $28 million. He was the highest paid wide receiver in the league for about 3.5 hours. And then the Eagles signed, they signed A.J. Brown. We're going to talk about it in a minute. So who do you have to sign in the near future? It's Jared Goff. It's Aleem McNeil. It's Aiden Hutchinson in 3 years. You still got him for 3 more years. You don't have to do anything with Hutch for 3 more seasons. He's got 2 more seasons guaranteed. You'd be stupid not to pick up that 5th-year option. So who do you really have to sign? Aleem McNeil or Jared Goff? Now, Jared Goff is going to want the biggest hefty amount, so I understand why we're talking about it. So can Hendon be the guy? In college, he was better. In college, Hendon Hooker was hands down better than Brock Purdy. In the NFL, Brock Purdy's more proven than Hendon Hooker, so it's a catch-22. Yep. Do I believe that all talent from college translates to the NFL? No, it doesn't. I have yet to see Hendon Hooker throw a pass in a competitive game of any type of sorts, not even preseason, not even cleanup time, not even joint practices with another team. He's purely been protected so far in Lions practices where he's wearing a red jersey. You can't touch him. You can't hit him. He has not felt NFL contact at all. So I cannot say that I am 100% certain. It's a good question. I wish I had a better answer for you, William, but that's my logic thinking about it.
So I know what people are going to say. They're probably, and this is just me playing devil's advocate before you guys hammer me. It is something that's worth thinking about. Hendon Hooker, as I look at it right now, you're only going to have him on his rookie deal until 2027. He's an unrestricted free agent in 2027. So essentially, if you extended Jared Goff, it would go beyond Hendon Hooker's rookie deal. There's a few different ways to look at that. An unproven Hendon Hooker getting his second deal is going to be on the cheap. It's going to be on the cheap. Where if he starts to play in 2025, proves himself and plays well, 2026, you're going to be looking at trying to get him signed and get that extension. What is that going to look like? And my thought process is this. Even if he plays pretty well, right, it's not going to be $50 million. It's still probably not going to be $50 million. So if you get a Hendon Hooker that's getting it done, he's doing enough to get it done, and it's not necessarily pretty. His second deal doesn't have to be what we're about to pay Jared Goff. Does it make it easier to work through some of this contract stuff? I get the thought process behind it. I get why people are bringing up the conversation. I do think it's worth chatting about before I can make any true blue decisions and give true thoughts. I gotta see him throw a football in a live football game, and I don't even care if it's a preseason game and they're playing vanilla defenses. I need to see Hendon Hooker playing football with adults, with men.
I'm with you.
So, but it's exciting to think about it. So I think that the thought process of, hey, man, for the people that are saying the Detroit Lions are a team, which I don't think that we are, but we're a team that should be Super Bowl or bust. Then if we're going to be Super Bowl or bust, Hendon Hooker gives you 2 more seasons with a QB on a rookie deal to be Super Bowl and bust. And sign some of those sexy picks, sign the Danielle Hunters and, the guys that we think that will never be signed. He gives you that opportunity because a lot of times you sign those guys, man, and, you sign them for whatever they got left on their contract sometimes if you trade for them. But if you just sign them, you sign them for 3-year deals. So, hey, by the time it's coming to repay him, he's either trade bait or you can just let him walk, after the 3rd season and figure out what you're going to do. So I don't know, man. I'm just tossing it around in my mind, man, this whole Hendon Hooker thing and getting some of these guys that are just absolute monsters. But I think it's going to be hard to pay Jared Goff and get big name guys like this, man. It's just, I don't know how the Eagles are doing it with Jalen Hurts and paying Jalen Hurts all that money and then paying Brown all that money. And then, Devonta Smith's getting money and Saquon Barkley's getting money. And then every edge rusher they got is getting like
3 offensive linemen are getting $20 million.
Bryce Huff is out there getting money, like a rotational rusher.
Darius Slay still's getting money. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know how they're doing it.
I don't know how they're doing it either, man. But if there's a way that we can get Trey, I love the idea, man. But I just don't. I don't know. I guess that's why it's not my job.
Like I told you today at work, if the Eagles can do it, anybody can. Like,
I get it.
There's got to be a way. Now, do I have an equation that I can write down on a whiteboard and walk you guys through it? No. But just look at the Eagles roster. Look at their cap. They're paying north of 15 million to about 15 guys. It's incredible how they're doing it. You add that up, it's quite a few dollars. Let me just throw some stats at you real quick, William. Just lastly, the Detroit Lions defense last year was bad. We agree. Not atrocious. Not the worst defense I've ever seen.
We were bad against the pass. I will say
that might be the 2008 Michigan Wolverines football team that had the worst defense I've ever seen. 41 sacks last year. That was 9th worst in the NFL. Tied for 9th worst with the Rams.
Yeah.
Those were the only 2 teams in that ranking of the bottom 10 to make the playoffs. 4,562 yards we allowed last year. That is the 4th worst yardage defense in the NFL. The other teams that were worse than us did not make the playoffs. Weren't even close. Last place in plays over 20 yards or more. 69 plays we gave up of plays over 29 or over 20 yards. Now, I can't tell you if that was coverage issues, pass rush issues. I'd have to go back and somehow maybe someone can clip a video and show me all 69 of those plays, and I can give you a better understanding. I'm just telling you what the stats are. It's not pretty. We've shored up our secondary. So some coverage issues, we're not going to have as many. There's still going to be some blown coverages. It happens in the NFL. You put an elite pass rush out there with Trey Hendrickson, those blown coverages are fewer and further between. An elite pass rush, I will die on this island. I will say it as an old man. My last words will be, an elite pass rush will cover a bad secondary. And our secondary's gotten much better. So I was just looking at those stats and I'm just thinking the only reason we made the playoffs is because we had an elite offense. Like our defense, it showed up at times. Also, we gave up 23.2 points per game. 23rd ranked in the NFL. Not great in the bottom tier. At one point, it was over 30. We were getting shredded yardage-wise, points-wise. Aaron Glenn shored it up. If you look at what we've done, we've added DJ Reader to our defensive line. And then we've completely revamped our secondary for some coverage issues. You add one more piece, Trey Hendrickson, who, like I said, you got 4 guys who can contribute. If you're familiar with the movie Moneyball, you just got to get that production and spread it out a little bit. Because when the Oakland Athletics lost those guys, I think it was in like 2001, they lost Johnny Damon, Jason Giambi. The movie Moneyball is what I'm talking about here. You guys have probably all seen it. They had to replace that production. So we're not having anything we have to replace. I'm just throwing out the number. If you take Josh Paschal, Kaminsky, Davenport, and Houston, and you tell all 4 of those guys, hey, between the 4 of you, I need 12 sacks. I don't think that's an insurmountable number. But if you go out and you give up pick 32, you win a Super Bowl with Trey Hendrickson, who's going to get you 12 on his own, and you still have those other 4 guys who can sprinkle in their 12 sacks as well, with Aiden, who's going to get at least 10, and that's being conservative, with Jack Campbell, who can blitz, Alex Anzalone, who can blitz. Like, we've got Ife Melifonwu, like, we've got some guys we can dial up a lot of different pressures with.
I agree, man. I'm just get it here. Just get it here. Hey, just get it here, man. I'm excited for all things that we're talking. I'm excited to see Hendon Hooker. I'm excited to see if we do bring anyone in. I'm excited to see if we end up extending Jared Goff, what those numbers look like. I'm excited to hear what exactly is going on behind the scenes. Like, is it a year? Because that's what I think it is. I think it's amount of time issue. And I think that the longer that this process goes, the more dangerous it gets for Jared Goff. I'm not a believer in if Hendon Hooker looks bad, Jared Goff's price is going to go through the roof. I think Jared Goff's price is going to be pretty much his price, and the Lions are going to either pay it or not pay it. And I think they have already got it set in their mind. They're okay with the price. It's the longevity. So I'm interested to see if Jared Goff pushes the issue or to get this thing done, and maybe he signs something a little bit less than he would have otherwise, just to hurry up and get it done. Because players talk, man. Regardless of what we see at training camp, regardless of what we hear about, don't hear about, if the players are around Hendon Hooker and they believe that he's the guy, it's gonna start to get a buzz and come out. You know, we've seen it before with other QBs. Same thing. I mean, we were just talking about Brock Purdy. They knew that Brock Purdy was the guy and Trey Lance was no longer the up and comer and the dude. And the locker room spoke to it. George Kittle started lobbying for Brock Purdy. Like it was never any question. And he got, Trey Lance ended up getting ran out of town. So I think the players will speak to it, man. It'll be interesting to see how this thing unfolds. I'm Ross St. Brown as somebody who stands by Jared Goff. Let's get him signed. Let's get it done. If Hendon Hooker gets in there and starts spinning that thing, I think you'll see some things change, because ultimately these guys want to win a Super Bowl and they want the best that's out there. And I'm not saying that it's Hendon Hooker. I'm just interested to see this soap opera unfold. I just hope that it unfolds in a way that doesn't negatively impact the organization or force us to take a step back or cause any drama. I just want to keep doing what we've been doing, man, which is just being successful and kind of drama free.
Yeah. Last thing I'm going to say is, like I said, it's like we're lucky that we made the playoffs last year with how bad our defense was. Like, we got lucky, when we had to score a lot of points. When the first game that comes to mind is the Chargers game, where we gave up 35. We had to score 38. Like, we got into some of those shootouts where we were just putting up crazy numbers offensively and we just couldn't get those stops. I think our defense is going to be better. I don't see us being 23rd ranked or bottom 10 in a lot of things, but it's going to be better. But I think just one more piece, Trey Hendrickson, that opposite pass rusher, and you can still sprinkle in those other guys. Nasty, filthy, disgusting defense.
I just think that our defense is going to be better. And we were right there. We were right there. NFC Championship, half a football away from that Super Bowl. Now we're putting out the same offense. Same offense coming back. Sub Donovan Peoples-Jones out for Josh Reynolds, where same dude's coming back. Sub out Jonah Jackson. Yep. Yeah. Like same team coming back. So we know what we have in this offense. We're coming back with a better defense. I'm just excited to see what it looks like. But living in this world, and I'll leave it at this. What if we know what Jared Goff is? And I think that Jared Goff is enough to win us a Super Bowl with a phenomenal defense. So what if we're living in a world to where Jared Goff is playing lights out like he has been? He's on one of his hot streaks or whatever. Everybody's going to have bad games, but Jared Goff was by no means the reason why we lost the NFC championship game. So he's playing good football. Hendon Hooker has a lights out preseason. Do you think that Hendon Hooker might be worth maybe it's not even this coming season, but maybe in the following season? You think he might be a guy worth trading for some of these pieces that we're always talking about? Because I would love to get a guy opposite Aiden Hutchinson. Do you think that that's a potential landing spot for this whole saga?
There's potential, but I mean, just using the Bengals as a reference, no, because they have Joe Burrow. But I mean, if you want to talk like, I don't know, are the Giants going to be ready to move on from Daniel Jones? Like, they were talking about drafting a quarterback. I mean, I'm not sure who I would pluck from their team right here on the spot. You know what? I'll tell you right now, I was super glad that the Lions took Aiden Hutchinson over Thibodeau. I'll just say that.
Me too. But the idea of him being opposite of Aiden Hutchinson and we got them both, that would be an interesting.
Just a little too much of a diva for me, but I get your point. Yeah. I get your point. Someone of his caliber, it's possible. Yeah. But again, nothing's happening until Hendon Hooker takes a professional snap in an environment that's not completely controlled by the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I agree.
So, guys, just throwing it out there. It came out last week. We understand, a little late to the party.
Trade day.
A lot of stuff going on with the draft. And, we have personal lives with work, and we were moving and packing up to go to Detroit for the weekend. So we didn't quite get to it. We had a little free time. We wanted to talk about this because Trey Hendrickson, one of my favorite players in the league, very underrated, top 5 pass rusher, doesn't get talked about enough on the national spotlight. So Leave some comments down below. Hit that like button. If you're new, stick around, subscribe. We'll be back later with another episode.
Peace.